They say Norway is beautiful. But what if that's only the part you were meant to see? Beyond the travel posters and midnight sun, there's a side of Norway no one talks about, where silence doesn't echo. It shapes 50 places, each more impossible than the last hidden cliffs that defy gravity, roads that curl like myths, lakes so still they erase the sky. This isn't the Norway in guidebooks. This is the part that waits quietly until someone sees it and finally believes. Geirangerfjord, one of Norway's most iconic fjords, but nothing about it feels familiar. The cliffs don't rise, they fold like velvet, pushed upward from deep beneath the sea. Water doesn't rush here. It falls in slow sheets from ledges so high, the air forgets sound. The fjord stretches narrow and quiet, its surface smooth as oil, cut only by the trail of a boat that's long gone. On either side, green walls rise vertically, not with force, but with the patience of centuries. Mist gathers near the waterline, not hiding the view, but softening it, as if nature pressed pause. Geirangerfjord doesn't ask for awe. It waits for silence and earns it. Langfossen, a free-falling waterfall that drops straight into a fjord. Langfossen moves without warning. It doesn't start with a roar. It begins as a shimmer, a white thread unraveling down the mountain's shoulder. Langfossen doesn't drop once. It tumbles again and again, falling in waves that break without sound. Each tier is wider than the last, spilling over smooth granite, carving light into stone. There's no cliff edge, no single moment of descent, only the long, unbroken fall of water, too heavy to resist gravity and too graceful to fight it. When wind moves through the spray, the whole waterfall seems to hover, not falling, but floating. Langfossen moves fast, but it leaves time behind. Vøringsfossen, one of Norway's highest and most dramatic waterfalls, Vøringsfossen doesn't fall. It plunges to. The drop is almost sheer, cutting through dark rock as if the earth cracked open mid-breath. Mist doesn't drift here. It erupts, rising from the canyon like steam from something ancient. Bridges cross overhead, but few look down for long. The height doesn't just scare, it overwhelms. From the base, the water hits with weight, then vanishes into foam, like thunder dissolving into rain. Even when the sky is clear, Vøringsfossen feels storm-lit, a place where motion has memory and descent has presence. Latefossen, a twin waterfall, split by stone, but joined by motion. Latefossen flows like a mirrored rhythm. The water doesn't fall side by side, it races in parallel currents that twist like threads unraveling at once. There's no quiet approach. The roar starts early, echoing through the valley like rolling wind against wood. A narrow bridge cuts across the base, so close the mist touches every passing car. No one stays dry, and no one forgets. Unlike other falls, it isn't about height, it's about presence. Langfossen doesn't ask you to watch, then it makes you feel crossed. Lovatnet, a glacier-fed lake in western Norway. Lovatnet looks still until the silence starts to move. Its surface is impossibly clear, but never empty. Mountains lean in from both sides, mirrored so perfectly, they seem more real in the water than in the air. The color shifts with the sky, sometimes turquoise, sometimes pale jade, always too precise to be random. There are no waves, though, only slow pulses, like breath under glass. History sleeps beneath this lake. Stories of floods, loss, survival held in the cold, told only when the mist lifts. Lovatnet doesn't reflect the world, it remembers it. Lake Ringertidalsvatnet, a glacial lake framed by cliffs and silence. Lake Ringertidalsvatnet lies hidden beneath one of Norway's most iconic ledges. The water stretches long and narrow, caught between stone walls that seem too steep for sound to climb. This is where Trolltunga hangs above, but the lake below speaks louder, not in volume, but in depth. Its surface is dark, not because it lacks color, but because it holds too much memory. Some lakes reflect light. Ringertidalsvatnet reflects time. It doesn't welcome movement. It absorbs it, pulling everything inward, until even the wind feels distant. Jostrevatn, a wide, glassy lake in western Norway. Jostrevatn doesn't cut through the land. It rests inside it. The shoreline is low, the hills soft, as if carved with a quieter hand. The water doesn't shimmer. It glows faintly blue, faintly green, like light filtered through memory. Reflections here are gentle, no sharp edges, just softened outlines, like a dream not meant to be fully remembered. Villages dot the shore, but make no noise. Even the boats seem to glide slower, as if pulled by stillness itself. Jostrevatn isn't a destination, it's a pause. Nusfjord, an inner branch of the great Sognefjord. Nusfjord feels closer, not in distance, but in presence. The water is a quiet green, carved by glaciers, fed by waterfalls that drop in silence from high above. Steep mountains press in on both sides, but they don't feel heavy. They feel folded, like pages left open for anyone still reading the land. Small farms cling to the slopes, some with no road in, just paths that wind like memory. Light hits differently here, soft at sunrise, golden at dusk, and blue in between. Nusfjord doesn't try to impress. It waits, and in the stillness, it's always enough. Sognefjellsvägen, the highest mountain pass road in northern Europe. Sognefjellsvägen doesn't cut through the peaks. It floats among them. At over 4,000 feet, this road moves between stone and sky, where snow lingers even in July, and clouds drift below the wheels. There are no sharp turns, just long, sweeping curves, like the road is tracing thought, not terrain. Glaciers loom in the distance. Frozen rivers sit quietly by the edge. Even the air feels slower, not thinner, just more careful. Travelers don't rush here. They drive in silence, not because it's dangerous, but because it feels sacred. Sognefjellsvägen doesn't connect places. It reveals what lies between them. Flåm, a small village at the tip of a deep fjord. Flåm feels sheltered, as if tucked away by intention. Mountains rise like walls around it, not to keep you out, but to hold something in. The harbor is quiet, even when ships arrive. Sound here doesn't echo, it settles. Old wooden houses sit close to the water, their colors softened by years of mist and salt. And the pace is slow, not because time moves differently, but because no one rushes where stillness belongs. In Flåm, even movement feels like waiting, and somehow that's enough. Flåmsbana, one of the steepest railway lines in the world, but Flåmsbana doesn't climb fast. It rises with care. From fjord to high mountain, the train moves through tunnels carved by hand, across ledges where cliffs drop on both sides. Waterfalls appear without warning, so close they missed the windows. Villages flash by in silence, each one smaller, quieter, as if fading into another time. Inside the cabin, no one speaks much. It's not the views. It's the shift from sea-level breath to thin, clean air that carries memory through. Flåmsbana isn't a ride, it's a transition. Trolltunga, a rock ledge hanging over empty air. Trolltunga doesn't touch the sky. It interrupts it, jutting out from a vertical cliff, with nothing above and nothing below. This stone tongue holds its balance like a breath held too long. The hike here takes hours, but the silence at the top lasts longer. Mountains surround it, but none lean in. They stand back, as if even nature gives this place its space. The wind doesn't speak here. It pauses. And when you step to the edge, you don't feel the drop. You feel the stillness. Trolltunga is not a view. It's a moment suspended. Preikestolen, a flat rock platform rising over 2,000 feet. Preikestolen doesn't lean forward, it holds the line. The cliff face drops straight into Nusfjord. No rails, no fences, no hesitation. The surface is wide, clean-cut, like someone carved a pulpit into stone and left it for the wind to finish. Tourists sit at the edge, but the real view isn't downward. It's outward where water runs still and mountains fold like painted curtains. There are no echoes here. Only breath held longer than usual. Preikestolen doesn't challenge you to stand at the edge. It dares you to be still on it. Bolton, a boulder suspended between two cliffs. Bolton isn't placed. It's caught. Stuck in a crevice over 3,000 feet above the fjord. This stone doesn't fall, doesn't shift, doesn't ask permission to exist. There is no path to it, only rock, air, and a final step. Some walk out onto the boulder. Most stop short. Not because of fear, but because the silence feels too exact. Below, Nusfjord looks frozen. Above, the sky feels closer than sound. Bolton isn't a destination. It's a question asked in stone, answered by stillness. Bakanosi, a cliff edge with no warning. Bakanosi doesn't announce itself. It waits after hours of walking through quiet forest and rolling stone. The ground simply disappears, revealing a drop so clean. You stop moving before your eyes do. The view stretches across Geirangerfjord, layered in folds of green and blue, with peaks rising like frozen waves in slow motion. No railings, no crowds, just a line of stone where land decides it's had enough. Clouds drift past below, Sometimes the whole valley vanishes, leaving only wind and the edge beneath your feet. Bakanosi isn't dramatic, it's exact. Trollstigen, the tallest vertical rock face in Europe, Trollstigen doesn't rise. It looms over 3,000 feet of sheer granite, with no breaks, no plateaus, just one unbroken wall between sky and ground. There are no trails here, only silence, held tightly between shadow and stone. Even birds avoid the center. They circle the edges, as if pulled away by something they can't name. Climbers once came here often, Now, most just look from a safe distance, through still air that carries weight without wind. Trollstigen doesn't challenge the body. It measures the stillness inside it. Geirangerfjord, the highest peak in northern Europe, but Geirangerfjord doesn't feel like a summit. It feels like distance, made solid. Over 8,000 feet above sea level, the air turns thin, not from cold, but from clarity. Snow covers everything, even in midsummer. Not in blankets, but in memory layers, pressed by time and wind. There are no dramatic ridgelines, just silence, wrapped in white, stretching farther than the eyes admit. Those who reach the top don't speak much. Because Trollstigen doesn't offer a view, it offers perspective. Whoosh. Stigfossen, a roadside waterfall. With no distance from the viewer, Stigfossen doesn't wait to be discovered. And it finds you. As you climb Trollstigen, the water appears beside the road, rushing so close you feel it before you see it. Falls fast, cutting white lines through black rock, spinning mist into the air like threads of motion. There's no grand viewing platform, no need. The mountain curves to let you pass right through the sound. Down. Each turn reveals another drop, another twist of water that follows the road like a second spine. Stigfossen doesn't fall in the distance. It falls with you. Lovatnet Road, a mountain road with 27 hairpin turns. Lovatnet doesn't climb. It coils, built through solid rock. This narrow path winds from fjord to plateau, each turn tighter than the last. Each ledge cut by heater. There are no long stretches, no rhythm, just decision after decision, stone, drop, stone again. From above, it looks impossible. From inside the car, it feels personal. Mist rolls in without warning. Visibility drops. But the road keeps going, as if memory, not sight, is what guides it. Lovatnet isn't about speed, it's about surrender. Trollstigen, a serpentine road carved into the face of a mountain. Trollstigen doesn't descend. It weaves 11 tight hairpin bends, each balanced on cliffs, each framed by waterfalls, each sharper than the one before. Stone walls rise on one side. Empty air waits on the other. The road itself disappears and returns like a thought you almost forget, then suddenly remember too clearly. Even the guardrails feel hesitant, as if placed out of ritual, not conviction. Tour buses move slow. Cyclists push in silence, and no one talks much here. Because Trollstigen doesn't need speed to be unforgettable. It needs altitude, and the pause between turns, and Old Strinafjell Road. Old Strinafjell doesn't carry traffic. It carries time. Winding through stone and snow, this gravel path remembers when travel was slower, harder, quieter. Low stone walls mark each curve, weathered and chipped, but still standing, like someone left a trail of patience across the mountains. Glacial lakes rest nearby, blue like no pigment can capture. The air is thin but steady. Modern roads bypass it. But those who choose this way don't come to save time. They come to feel what was once normal and now forgotten. Old Strinafjell doesn't rush you. It reminds you to slow down. Atlantic Road, a road that skips across the ocean. The Atlantic Road doesn't connect land, it connects movement. Bridges link small islands, rising and falling with the waves beneath them, as if the sea taught the road how to breathe. On stormy days, water crashes over the asphalt, spray curls over the rails, and the horizon shifts with every gust. But even in calm weather, the feeling stays that this shouldn't exist, a road that moves with water instead of resisting it. Cars glide through curves that look unreal. Not because they were designed to impress, but because they weren't meant to be possible. The Atlantic Road doesn't hold back the sea. It dances with it. Storsundet Bridge, the most iconic curve on the Atlantic Road. Storsundet doesn't cross the sea. It leaps over it. From one angle, it looks incomplete. A sudden rise, a sharp bend, a drop that disappears into nothing. But as you approach, the illusion fades. What felt impossible becomes motion graceful, exact, and gone too quickly. Beneath the bridge, waves crash on dark rocks and spraying salt into air that never stands still. There are no signs telling you to slow down. But you do, not for safety, for disbelief. Storsundet doesn't just carry cars, it carries wonder. Lingen Alps, a jagged spine of snow-covered peaks. The Lingen Alps don't rise quietly, they slice. Stretching along the coast of northern Norway, these mountains drop straight into deep fjords, with glaciers tucked between ridgelines like frozen rivers, still deciding where to go. The peaks are sharp, unnamed in places, untouched in feeling. In summer, the snow doesn't leave. In winter, the light barely arrives. But the silence stays year-round, carved deep into rock and deeper into air. This isn't a place for trails. It's a place for presence. The Lingen Alps don't point upward, they point inward. North Cape, the northernmost edge of mainland Europe. North Cape doesn't end. It releases a flat cliff, drops into the Arctic Ocean with no beach, no curve, just a final line between earth and sky. Winds here are constant, but never loud. They whisper across tundra and stone, pulling clouds low, stretching shadows long. People stand at the Globe Monument, not for photos, but to feel something shift inside, where distance meets quiet. In summer, the sun never leaves. In winter, it forgets to rise, but in either season, the silence is whole. North Cape doesn't mark a destination. It marks a horizon that refuses to close. Honningsvåg, one of the northernmost towns in the world. Honningsvåg doesn't feel remote. It feels paused. Tucked between rock and harbor, this coastal town holds onto color red boats, yellow walls, blue light at midnight. Out. The streets are narrow, but not rushed. Each corner feels recent and ancient in the same breath. Fishermen move without sound. Children walk in snow like it's nothing. Nothing is loud here. Even the sea arrives gently. In summer, the sun circles without setting. In winter, the glow comes from memory. Honningsvåg doesn't try to survive the extremes, it welcomes them. Saltstraumen, the world's strongest tidal current. Saltstraumen doesn't flow, it coils. Every 6 hours, the sea reverses itself, forcing millions of gallons through a narrow strait, creating whirlpools as wide as fishing boats, as deep as silence itself. The surface swirls, but beneath layers of pressure, weight, and rhythm collide, like time folding back on itself. Seagulls hover in place, riding invisible edges of wind and pull. Fishermen anchor close, but never too close. They know what moves below. From the bridge, it looks slow. From the water, it feels like something alive. Saltstraumen doesn't rage. It remembers how to turn the ocean. Åndalsnes, a town between river and vertical stone. Åndalsnes doesn't expand. It settles, surrounded by the Romsdal Alps. This valley feels temporary, like it was carved for something passing through, but never in a hurry. The Rauma River runs quietly beside it, cutting a clear line through forest and rock, mirroring cliffs that rise too steep for snow to stay. Trains stop here, but not for long. Travelers step off, pause, and speak softer than usual. Every building feels tucked in. Every road feels like an apology to the land. Åndalsnes isn't remote, it's reserved. Svalbard, an Arctic archipelago closer to the North Pole than to Oslo, Svalbard doesn't feel inhabited. It feels borrowed. Mountains rise from permafrost, flat-topped and snow-streaked, framed by glaciers that don't move quickly but always move. The light is strange here. Long, golden hours in summer. Endless dark in winter. Both silent. Both absolute though. Polar bears roam beyond the settlements. The sea stays cold, even when the ice breaks. There are no trees. No softness. Just stone, ice, wind, and the reminder that not everything was meant for comfort. Svalbard doesn't ask to be explored. It asks to be respected. Eek. Røros, preserved mining town, wrapped in snow. Røros doesn't feel old. It feels paused. Wooden houses stand shoulder to shoulder, their colors faded by wind, but their windows still warm. The streets stay narrow, not by design, but by memory, a layout meant for sleds, not speed. Smoke rises from chimneys, thin and straight, as if trying not to disturb the stillness. Inside the cafes, time slows further, and outside, footsteps sound softer on snow laid down by history. Røros doesn't recreate the past. It continues it quietly. Undredal, a fjordside village with more goats than people, Undredal doesn't feel remote. It feels hidden, on purpose. Just a few wooden houses, stacked between mountain and water, with grass roofs, silent streets, and a stave church older than memory. The fjord reflects it all, doubling a village already small, already quiet. There are no buses, no crowds, just footsteps and bells from the hillside, where goats move without sound. At dusk, the light brushes every rooftop. Not to reveal, but to preserve, Undredal doesn't try to be untouched. It simply never changed. Vikøyri, a quiet settlement on the edge of Sognefjord. Vikøyri doesn't face the water. It listens to it. Wooden boathouses line the shore, leaning slightly with age, but never falling, just adjusting. And behind them, green fields rise gently, dotted with farms, a stone church, and fences that seem more symbolic than needed. The wind carries salt inland. The mountains echo nothing back, only the rhythm of water touching dock again and again. Fishermen here don't speak much. Not out of silence, but of rhythm. Vikøyri doesn't try to impress. It tries to continue song. Bugøynes, a coastal village near the Russian border. Bugøynes doesn't resist the cold. It welcomes it. Here, the Barents Sea never fully freezes, and the sauna stands closer to the shore than to the houses. The people speak Finnish. The signs are in Norwegian. The silence is in both. Wooden homes are painted strong colors, not to stand out, but to stand through the wind. Drying racks line the coast, filled with fish, and stories that haven't been rewritten. Some call it the last village, but nothing here feels final, just firm. Bugøynes doesn't explain itself, it endures. Nusfjord, a fishing village tucked into a narrow Lovatnet inlet. Nusfjord doesn't open wide, it folds inward. Red Råbua fishermen's cabins stand on stilts, hovering above water that rarely stirs, as if stillness is part of the architecture. The harbor is quiet, but purposeful. Boats come and go, without hurry, without noise. Mountains rise behind the village, close enough to catch shadows, far enough to let light through. Everything here feels used. Nothing feels worn out. Nusfjord doesn't tell its story loudly. It lets the sea tell it one tide at a time. Sommerøy, an island where the sun doesn't set in summer. Sommerøy doesn't shine. It glows. White sand beaches, turquoise shallows, and wooden homes perched between sea and sky, as if color itself decided to settle here. The light stays soft, even at midnight. It bends around corners, lingers on surfaces, pauses on water. Time feels uncertain. Shadows forget where to fall, and clocks, some say, don't matter. Fishing nets dry on driftwood frames. Children wade through light instead of waves. Sommerøy doesn't feel north, it feels elsewhere. Bolstad, an island of cliffs, sea and wings. Runda doesn't rest. It watches. Thousands of seabirds nest on its ledges, including puffins, gannets, and fulmars, each returning to the same rocks year after year. The cliffs rise straight from the sea, dark and wet, lined with feathers and sound. Waves crash constantly, but never out of rhythm. Even chaos has a pattern here. There's no road around the island, just paths worn by wind and feet that move quietly. Runda isn't remote. It's deliberate. A place chosen by birds and left alone by time. Skudeneshavn, a working fishing village in the Lofoten Islands, Bolstad doesn't pose. It provides, surrounded by steep granite peaks. Its harbor feels enclosed, but not hidden, just protected by familiarity. Boats line the docks, nets drape across wooden frames, and the scent of salt and cod sits in the air like something permanent. Houses face the sea, not for the view, but because that's where the work begins. The mountains reflect in still water, but no one stares. They've seen it every day and still don't take it for granted. Bolstad doesn't sell its silence. It works in it, though. Vardø, Norway's easternmost town. Vardø doesn't speak often, but when it does, it remembers, facing the Barents Sea. This coastal outpost feels closer to silence than to neighbors. The wind arrives first, then come the stories, though. Ruins of wartime bunkers, a fortress still watching, memorials to those burned for what couldn't be proven. The streets are quiet, not for lack of people, but for the weight of history held in the ground. Winter, ice grips the harbor. In summer, the sun returns reluctantly. but the walls remain. Vado doesn't ask to be understood. It asks not to be forgotten. Reinheimen National Park. One of Norway's largest wilderness areas, Reinheimen doesn't welcome. It watches. No paved roads, no marked trails, just valleys carved by glaciers and peaks that speak only in shadow. Reindeer roam freely, their paths older than memory, their presence quiet but never uncertain. The sky here feels broader, not because it's higher, but because nothing interrupts it. Streams run clear, cold, and uninterrupted. Even the rocks feel slow. This isn't a place to visit. It's a place to disappear and re-emerge unannounced. Reinheimen doesn't explain the wild. It restores it. Rago National Park, a wilderness of rock, water, and silence. Rago doesn't unfold. It isolates. Massive granite slabs stretch across the landscape, split by narrow lakes and stitched with pine. There are no signs, no fences, only the sound of a river falling from nowhere, then disappearing into forest. Dusk, the light fades without warning. Shadows arrive first, then stillness. The wind here doesn't howl, and it slips through stone like it knows the way. Few come here. Even fewer return unchanged. Rago doesn't test your strength. It subtracts what you don't need. Jotunheimen National Park, land of the giants. Jotunheimen doesn't look ancient. It feels pre-human. Sharp peaks rise in clusters, not smooth, but fractured as if the land was lifted, then left unfinished. Glaciers settle between ridges, quiet but alive. Their cracks echo in still air, carving seconds into memory. The ground is solid, but nothing feels fixed. Trails wind across stone and ice, marked only by footsteps, washed clean by wind before anyone returns. Jotunheimen doesn't wait for explorers. It waits for silence to arrive first. Rondane National Park, the oldest national park in Norway. Rondane doesn't rise sharply. It gathers. Its peaks are round, not from softness, but from time weathered by wind, smoothed by memory. The valleys are dry, the trails narrow, lined with lichen and stone that haven't moved in centuries. Reindeer still pass through here, silent and seasonal, following a rhythm older than names. There are no dramatic cliffs, no sudden heights, just space, wide and deliberate. Rondane doesn't rush the eye. It teaches it to wait. Svartisen, one of Norway's largest glaciers, Svartisen, doesn't shine. It absorbs light. Blue ice stretches in fractured sheets, veined with shadow, pressed under its own memory. From a distance, it looks smooth. Up close, it splits, revealing cracks deep enough to hold centuries. There are no fences, no warning signs, only the sound of slow melt, a steady drip that reshapes the land without ever rushing it. The air is colder here, but not because of temperature, because of weight. Svartisen doesn't feel like it's melting. It feels like it's waiting. Verdens Ende, the southern tip of an archipelago. Verdens Ende doesn't declare itself. See, lets the name speak. The end of the world. Smooth boulders slide into the sea, not as cliffs, but as conclusions. No sharp edges, just final lines drawn in granite and salt. A lone tower stands, watch not a lighthouse, but a signal to something long past. Waves don't crash here. They arrive, laugh, fold, and leave. Even the seagulls seem quieter. Even the wind pauses as if unsure what comes next. Verdens Ende doesn't say goodbye. It holds the silence after. Alnes Lighthouse, a lone tower on the edge of the sea. Alnes Lighthouse doesn't shine to be seen. It shines so someone doesn't vanish. Painted white and red, it rises above windswept grass, facing waves that arrive from no single direction. The light turns slowly, casting its beam over empty water, then over nothing and back again. The village nearby is quiet. The cliffs behind it quieter still. When storms come, the lighthouse doesn't change. It does what it always has, stands, waits, glows. Alnes doesn't mark danger. It marks presence. "50 places, not visited, but witnessed. Cliffs that don't just rise, they pause. Lakes that don't just reflect, they remember. We crossed fjords where silence had weight, stood on ledges where air held its breath, and walked through towns that knew how to last. Nothing here asked for attention, and that's why it stayed with you. These weren't just locations, they were thresholds where light changed, and so did you. Norway doesn't whisper, it listens. And what you heard was real, sir.